Hello everyone, thanks for stopping by. This video is going to be a quick unboxing and setup of this Red Sea R42082 DIY Aquarium Net Cover Kit. This is a 48 by 31 inch kit. They make 5 different models of these kits to cover most sizes of tanks. They use the same instruction booklet for all 5. I'm going to go through that here in a minute. Point out a couple things that they don't, and one little mistake that they made in the instructions. Now the nice thing about this kit is it comes with 3 meters of this net. So in my case that's enough to do this twice, so if it's dirty or if it rips you can just do it again without worrying you have to buy more netting. And everything was packaged really well. Here you can see everything laid out. No scratches on the rail out of the box. But I will mention those rails do scratch very easily. I'll show you in a minute, but I use a miter saw to cut these pieces to ensure a straight cut. However, metal on metal, as far as resting the rails on the actual miter saw, they got a little scratched up. But you barely notice it, so not a big deal. A hacksaw and a miter box, of course, would work just fine. But if there's an opportunity to use a power tool, I'm all over it. So you can see here, I'm just going through the instructions in case anyone really is interested. Here, the one for the 250, that's the one you're going to probably want to use for most tanks, because this one for the 350 has a mistake on it. The diagram right there, the RA and the RB, should actually be the opposite. I made my own graph, I'll show you in a sec. This is the back page of the instruction booklet with all the measurements on it. So this is key. This is actually gold. If you have the same size tank as any of these Reefer models, we're down to the millimeter, and they're very accurate. So just measure 100 times, cut once, you'll be fine. So excuse this chicken scratch here, but this is a quick graph or diagram that I made to ensure I knew what I was doing, being that the instructions were kind of a little whack. And I used this level with measurements already on it to do my measuring, being that it's more accurate than a tape measure as far as down to the millimeter. The tape measure was actually 2/8 off due to that clip at the end that was moved, so you might want to check that. So of course I'm blocking the shot here, but the miter saw did a great job of cutting these things. High tooth blade. These are all the spares, so you have a little bit to play with if you make a mistake on the small cuts. There's a few spare railings. After the cuts, they're going to be sharp and rough. You're going to take whatever file you can and just give it a quick filing, or else those corner clips won't fit in. The other clips that are meant to hold the frame onto the tank actually they're way easier to get into these railings on the side that I didn't cut, so that's a little tip there. So here I just did a quick mock-up, and I'm going to mention something about the clips. So there's an A clip and a B clip. There's actually 2 different versions of the A clip that they don't mention, so I just wanted to show you quick what that is. On the left is an A, on the right is a B. You flip them over. It's quite obvious which is which. No big deal. However, I want to show you the other version of the A clip, that version, which has the pre-cuts for the corners. So if you have wire sticking out of your tank, like you do in my case, I need that clip there so I can cut it out for the gyro pump wire so it can get out of the tank without affecting the frame sitting on the tank. The other A clip there, and then the B clips, one would go there, and one will go there. But that's all in the instructions. But you just want to lay it out first, make sure all the clips are in the right place. Get those clips that are meant to go in the middle of the rail in first, and then you can do all your corner clips. And so here I'm just measuring to make sure that centerpiece is straight, because I noticed it wasn't. However, what I forgot to do is measure to make sure it's completely centered. However, I can do that later, being that you don't use a spline roller there. You can do that anytime. So here's just a quick dry fit before I cut the corners out. Probably should have did that after, but I just really wanted to make sure that it fit. But if you don't cut the corners, you can see it pop out. That's 100 degrees glass piece, because I've got some airline bubbler going to the bottom of my overflow box. Keep things going in there. And here's just me cutting the corners with whatever I had. In this case, it was just side cutters. These pre-cut ones cut very easily. You could probably even use a pair of like kitchen scissors that do the trick. And then I use the razor blade after to just clean up those cuts. But the other A clips, the other style I showed you that don't have the pre-cuts, they do cut just as easy. Or maybe not as easy, but you get them going, no problem. Because there's only 2 of those pre-cut clips, and I needed to cut a third one for that little airline piece I showed you. So here's me doing the net cover. Now Red Sea recommends 2 people. You probably want to use 2 people if this is your first time. This was my first time. However, you can do it by yourself. It's super easy. And again, there's enough net to do it twice. So I'm using the spline roller to push the spline into the railing, making sure that, you know, the square pattern on the net is, you know, even as possible, straight. And one thing I want to mention too is, you know, I'm pulling while I'm pushing the thing to make sure it's nice and tight. Now keep in mind, as you're pushing the spline into the railing, it sucks it in maybe 1/8, 2/8 of an inch. So you don't need to do too deep. I'm pulling with my left hand here, pulling it tight, but I actually made a mistake. I was pulling it too tight, and then the piece by the overflow box ripped. It ripped the whole way of that overflow box. So you can see me here trying to fix it, pulling the spline out, putting it back in. That doesn't hurt anything. But there just wasn't enough net left over for the net to be pushed back in there. So the purpose of this video, I left the mistake in so you could see what not to do. I'll show you what that looks like when it's on the tank, a little wavy, but just cutting the excess net here, and that's it. It's pretty easy to do, nothing too difficult. And here it is on the tank. I think it looks great. It's a slick looking unit, low profile, comes on and off. There's no clips on the tank. That's why you pay the premium for these Red Sea rails and their clips. They do work well. And you can see in the middle where the overflow is a little wavy pattern, and that's where it ripped. But definitely a good thing is peace of mind. You know, I've lost 2 wrasses due to them jumping out just because I didn't want a net cover. But you know what? Huge peace of mind. I recommend it. So thank you everyone for watching. Until next time, bye for now.